In the depth of night, when the moon hid behind clouds and the whole village drowned in fog, an old bell began to ring on its own. The sound was like dead bodies buried under the earth laughing. With every strike, the fog grew thicker and the houses of the village looked even more abandoned. Windows were shattered, doors hung off their hinges, and the streets were completely empty. This village was once full of life. Children's voices, farmers in the fields, and laughter spilling from homes in the evenings. But now only silence remained. Locals said that once every 100 years a shadow returned, a fallen angel whose wings had burned away. He sought 7 souls to ascend back into light. People whispered one name in terror, Angel of Dead, in one of the old houses of the village. Sarah had come with her brother Max. She was a university student who had been having the same dream again and again for many nights. In her dream, she saw a dark forest, black feathers scattered on the ground, and a whisper that tore through her ears. On the 7th night, I will return. She would always wake up screaming, only to find strange scratches etched onto the mirror in her room. Max always reassured her, it's nothing but a hallucination, a trick of your mind. But Sarah's fear was only growing worse. Dark circles spread beneath her eyes. Each night the same voice, the same feathers, the same eyes. And the most terrifying part was her diary. Pages began to stain themselves with blood, as if someone was writing messages upon them. Professor Lee, an expert in ancient texts, visited the village. After hearing Sarah's dream, he pulled out an old book titled Angelus Mortem, The Angel of Dead. Inside were illustrations of a fallen angel, its wings aflame, its eyes burning like fire. The professor's voice shook as he said, "This is no mere dream, it is a prophecy. On the 7th night he returns, and he will take 7 sacrifices." Night was falling. The bell by the church began to ring again. A stench of rot spread through the air, like corpses exhaling. Suddenly, every mirror in Sarah's room shattered at once. Across the shards, written in blood, appeared the words, "I am back." The ground beneath Max's feet shook. Now even he believed this was no hallucination. This was real. The fog grew thicker. Outside the window, shadows swayed, as if someone was standing there. The church bell rang louder and louder, and then a whisper, faint but clear, echoed from everywhere at once. 7 souls, 7 souls. Tears streamed down Sarah's face, and Max was speechless. Both of them knew the game had begun. The next night, Sarah, Max, and Professor Lee left for the forest. The villagers had warned them, once you enter the forest after dark, you never return the same. But Sarah was determined. If the Angel of Dead had truly returned, she wanted to see it with her own eyes. The fog was so thick it felt like hands brushing against their faces. Trees twisted unnaturally, as if alive, bending to watch them. Suddenly, they found feathers scattered across the forest floor. But they weren't ordinary feathers. They were pitch black and smoldering with embers, as if recently burned. When Sarah picked one up, it burned her palm like fire. She screamed, and her hand turned red, leaving a mark shaped like a wing. Max quickly took the feather away, but the smell of burning flesh lingered. As they went deeper, they heard whispers circling them. Not one, but hundreds of voices. Some wept, some laughed, some screamed. Sarah pressed her hands over her ears, but the whispers only grew louder inside her skull. The professor muttered, "These are the souls he took before, trapped forever in the forest." Max's eyes widened. Then we're walking among the dead. The group stumbled upon an abandoned church hidden in the woods. Its walls were cracked, and a massive broken cross lay at the entrance. On the door, carved with something sharp, were words in Latin. Septem sacrificium, 7 sacrifices. The professor's hands trembled as he translated. Sarah's voice broke. 7, that means us too. Inside the church, they found rows of shattered mirrors. Some were fogged, some smeared with dried blood. But what froze their hearts was that each mirror reflected them differently. In one mirror, Sarah's eyes were hollow sockets. In another, Max's throat was slit open. In a third, the professor was hanging by a noose. The mirrors showed their deaths before they happened. Then suddenly, boom, the church bell above rang, though no one had touched it. The sound was so loud it shook the ground. Dust rained from the ceiling. In that moment, Sarah saw him. At the far end of the church, standing in shadow, was a figure with massive burned wings. His face was hidden, but his eyes glowed like fire. A voice echoed from every corner. 6 have I taken, the 7th I will claim. Max pulled Sarah's arm. We need to leave. But the door slammed shut with a force so strong it cracked the walls. The mirrors shattered one by one, releasing screams into the air. The professor shouted, "We are trapped in his realm now." Sarah's tears ran down her face, her voice trembling. He has already chosen us. The air inside the church grew heavy, every breath cutting like blades. Candles lit on their own, one by one, their flames black instead of yellow. Sarah clung to Max's arm, her whole body shaking. The professor flipped through his ancient book desperately. He whispered, "The only way to trap him is with a circle made with blood." Max pulled out his pocket knife and sliced his palm open. His blood dripped onto the floor as he began drawing the circle. Each drop sizzled like it was burning the stone. But the angel laughed, a hollow laugh that shook the church. "Do you think blood will bind me? Your blood feeds me." His wings spread wide, sending a gust that extinguished even the black flames. From the walls, shadows began to peel off, forming twisted figures. They crawled along the floor, their jaws stretched wide, their eyes hollow pits. The whispers grew louder, overlapping in hundreds of voices. Sarah clutched her ears and screamed, "They're inside my head." The professor shouted, "These are the condemned souls he owns." Suddenly, the angel moved. He rose into the air, his burned wings spread, fire spilling from his eyes. He pointed toward Sarah. "You, the 7th." The ground cracked beneath her, glowing red like lava. She froze, unable to move, as skeletal hands clawed out of cracks, trying to pull her down. Max leapt forward, grabbing Sarah and yanking her back. His arm was nearly torn by the skeletal hands. He shouted, "You won't take her." The angel's scream shook the walls. Windows shattered into dust. The professor's voice echoed through the chaos. "Complete the circle. Only the circle can end this." Max's blood dripped faster as he drew the circle across the stone floor. His vision blurred, but he forced himself to continue. Every line glowed faint red. Sarah held his hand, helping him steady. But the angel's shadow loomed closer, wings scraping the ceiling, voice like thunder. "Your circle will become your grave." The church trembled as if alive. The broken cross from the entrance rose into the air and twisted into flames. The whispers merged into one chilling chorus. 7, 7, 7. The angel descended, his fiery eyes fixed on Sarah. She clutched the book, screaming, "We can't hold him much longer." The church shook violently. Dust and stones fell from the ceiling. Shadows crawled across the cracked walls like living creatures. Sarah lay on the ground, her wrist burning with a black mark that glowed like fire. Max bled heavily as he struggled to finish the circle on the floor. Professor Lee, gasping for his last breaths, flipped desperately through the book. The angel approached slowly, each step splitting the ground, each echo carrying screams of the damned. The angel spread his wings wide and roared, "6 souls are mine, the 7th is here." His voice was so deep it shattered what little glass remained in the church. Sarah's body trembled, her eyes filled with terror. She dragged herself toward the circle, but the whispers grew deafening. "Your blood, your soul, you are the 7th." Professor Lee screamed, "Complete the circle, or we're all doomed." Max pressed his bleeding hand to the floor, his strength fading. The circle was almost complete, but one gap remained. The angel raised his hand, a ball of fire swirling his palm, and hurled it at them. The professor leapt in the way, engulfed in flames, his body disintegrated to ash before their eyes. Sarah cried out, her tears mixing with blood dripping from her hand. "I'll finish this." She sliced her finger and dragged it across the floor, sealing the last line of the circle. The moment it closed, a blinding light exploded outward. The angel staggered back, his scream shaking the church. "No, this cannot bind me." His wings caught fire, feathers turned to ash, his body splitting apart. "This is not the end. I will return." The church's columns crumbled one by one. Light tore through the darkness. Mirrors shattered into dust, and the great bell tolled one final time before falling silent forever. The angel's body dissolved into flames and smoke, but his fiery eyes glared until the last moment. His whisper lingered in the air. I never die. When the light faded, the church was reduced to rubble. Max lay unconscious, but alive. Sarah clutched her wrist. The black mark had faded, but it still pulsed faintly. She understood the war was not over, only delayed. She gazed up at the sky, where for a brief moment among the clouds, the fiery silhouette of the angel appeared and then vanished. The villagers slowly returned, believing the curse had ended. They rebuilt their homes, their lives, but Sarah stayed silent. In her room, she opened her diary. Across the page, words had formed in blood. I am never gone. Her hands trembled. Outside, fog crept across the village again. The bell rang once, then silence. Darkness fell,